they're on.
Okay. I hit the touch screen, it didn't activate. Okay, we'll
Okay.
do this again, probably.
Let's try this again. This is a meeting of the Budget Review Committee. I'd like to call it to order. It's April 27th, 2017, at 7 PM in the Aldermanic Chamber. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Alderman at-large Laurie Wiltshire.
Here.
Alderman at-large Brian S. McCarthy.
Present.
Alderman Michael O'Brien is present. Alderman Sean McGinnis, absent. Alderman David Shoneman is present. Alderman Ken Siegel is present.
And the chair.
And the chair is present.
Okay, Sean McGinnis, Alderman McGinnis called me and said he wasn't feeling well, wouldn't be here this evening. Okay, so this is the first of the budget review meetings, having received the budget last Tuesday from the mayor. And there is a budget schedule that was put together. You got a new copy on your desk this evening because we have added June 1st for, at a minimum, a discussion of the $200,000 supplemental budget, or I'm not sure what we're calling it. And anything else at that point in the process that still needs to be discussed, and especially if it's anything that we need to discuss with the mayor. So, the other thing is that, of course, anybody is free to do and ask whatever they want on the Budget Committee, or any of the other members of the board can be here for Budget Committee meetings. And I hope they are here if they have questions about specific departments. What I've sort of asked the department heads to do is to give us an overview of their budget, tell us what's changed up and down as a minimum, because I'm sure those questions will come up. And then they will be addressed, any other questions by the members of the Budget Committee. Does anyone else have any comments at this point? Alderman Siegel?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion to submit communications that were received after the agenda was prepared. We have things on our desk.
All right. The motion on the floor is so far
To allow communication, yeah.
so far suspend the rules as to allow for the introduction of correspondence presented to us after the formation of the agenda. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alderman Siegel?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to introduce communication received via Alderman Shoneman regarding a correction to the Nashua Airport Authority budget information. I'd like to introduce a communication received by you, the chairman, for a schedule of departmental budget hearings. And I'd like to introduce a communication received as a correction to or amplification for Woodlawn Cemetery budget that was received after the agenda was prepared.
Okay, you've heard the motion to accept those three pieces of correspondence. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Does anyone else want to say anything before we start this budget process, or do we want to dive right into the first? I guess we dive in. Okay, so the first item to be discussed tonight is the Nashua Airport Authority. It's on page 326 in the, I think they're the blue pages. So take a seat at a microphone and please introduce yourselves.
My name is Michael Rosenblum, and I am the chair of the Nashua Airport Authority. And to my left is our new airport manager, Chris Lynch.
Good evening.
Evening. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Microphone.
So
And when you speak, make sure you speak into the microphone, so.
Okay. So you have our budget request of income and expenses that were submitted. And as the chair requested, I'll just talk about the changes to the budget last year to this year. Starting with our income, we have a slight land lease income increase because of cost of living that gets put into the formula of our leases that come due in January. Fuel flowage fees, we are seeing more fuel being sold at the airport. Also, we instituted a 2-cent per gallon increase on fuel during the year, so we should be receiving approximately $60,000 for next year. Fuel farm income, last year we had 2 fuel farms. We shut one down, closed it out. It was actually taken out of the ground by DES, so we only have revenue on one. And we have landing fees that we instituted during the year for transient jet aircraft are paying a landing fee, and that's a partial year this past year and should have a full year's effect going forward. The state of New Hampshire registration fees, we budgeted $50,000. We did receive $56,000 in the month of March, which is not reflected here, but that's based on the millage rates and the fees of the aircraft that are based in Nashua, and as aircraft age, the amount of revenue generated decreases. Snow removal income should be about the same as this past year. Actually, we're a little bit above income. This past year, we did reap a one-time benefit of reimbursement on health insurance that was paid over the number of years from the New Hampshire retirement system. That was a request that we had put in and researched for the health premiums on a prior airport manager, and the retirement system reimbursed us for. On the expense side, the major differences is the formulation of our staff. With our new airport manager on board, we have 4 full-time employees. This past year, we had a period of about 2.5 months where we had an interim airport manager, and we had a change in our office manager position. So there were two positions that we filled during this past year. Going forward, that's based on what our current staffing needs are. Part-time, we do have the need to have additional help on occasion for either snow removal or during the summertime for additional grass cutting. And so we didn't spend all that we had budgeted last year, but we feel that for going forward, $20,000 is a realistic figure. We do have a little bit of overtime, and that's based on snow removal when those items occur. Otherwise, the benefits went up as a result of the 4 full-time employees now, and that's budgeting a slight increase when renewal comes. And otherwise, there's no major differences in other expense items. One item, airfield equipment, This past year, we had budgeted 18,000. We've spent $7,500 on a new piece of equipment. We don't expect to spend any more. Some of our equipment is starting to age, and we are, as a strategic planning committee, developing a revised CIP structure, and we'll plan to replace some of that equipment over the long term, but a lot of that equipment is just short-term used equipment that's available at the moment. And this past year, we were able to get a deal on, I forget what it was. It was, I think it was a snow, not a snow, grass cutting machine. We got a large one, so we're able to reduce the amount of time spent by almost half. Otherwise, the expenses are pretty much in line with our last year's budget. Our income is covering our expenses for the year. We're budgeting a slight surplus of about $2,500. And I'll entertain any questions that you may have.
Okay, before that, I just want to have the record reflect that at 7:10, Alderman Lopez joined us.
So noted. Sorry for being late.
Okay, are there any questions from the Airport Authority? Alderman Shoneman.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I just want to point out that the reason we passed out this supplementary handout here before the meeting started was that there were a couple of omissions in the blue pages on page 327. It doesn't affect the budget going forward, but in the amounts remaining for fiscal 17 on 3 lines, they were blank. This updates it, and I think the interest is just to make sure that all the numbers are accurate. So that's the only change. It's not a material change because in fiscal 18 there were no changes.
Okay.
Just wanted to point that out.
President McCarthy, when we have changes like this, do we just take it for information? We can't change what the mayor gave us, right?
No, but I think in this case, the book just doesn't actually include what, the resolution includes what's on the corrected page, not what's in the book.
Okay, all right. Okay. Alderman Lopez?
If I could have those pages again, I'm actually following on the digital copy that's on the city's website, which I'm sure our viewers want to know about too.
So,
What pages were these on?
the aeronautical is on page 327. And we stated that before we called them up.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just asking because I can look and see if it's the updates were put in there or not, and let you know in a couple minutes.
Okay. Alderman Siegel?
Sure, just a procedural question, maybe either you or Alderman McCarthy can answer. Should we make a motion to replace that page in its entirety with the copy that we received at this meeting? You know,
We can, it's more of a correction than,
We
we're not really
accepted,
changing anything, we're just
no, I
correcting
understand.
a typo in the.
Because it's
in
the
budget book.
2017 numbers that's actually being,
and we accepted correspondence, which has that number in it, so.
that's fine. Because the 2018 budget actually those numbers didn't change, so I guess we're
No.
fine. Okay,
it's
thank
just
you.
how much.
Thank you for the
Any other
clarification.
questions for the Airport Authority?
I did want to add two more items. First of all, I wanted to thank the board for the support over the past year in trying to revise the way the state of New Hampshire charges for aircraft registration fees. That process is still ongoing, and we're meeting over the summer in a subcommittee. That House bill is being studied, and we will continue to work to adjust how fees are charged, keeping in mind that about 10% of our budget comes from those registration fees. We still want to retain that money.
Okay, just for informational purpose, oh, Alderman McCarthy?
Do we have a feel of how that's going? Is that likely to bear fruit, or?
It's being discussed over the summer, and the intent is to bring it back with the new legislature in January. I think that the parties that are all involved have the same goal in mind, and it's just we have to work out the logistics.
Just a couple of informational things. How many if you know the number off the top of your head, how many aircraft do we have there?
It's a little
Business
over,
jet and general aviation.
I think it's a little over 200 general aviation, and I don't know exactly how many jets there are based here.
Alderman Shoneman?
I can just add, my recollection, it's 15 to 20, I think, something, the corporate aircraft, that may be jets, maybe turboprops. It's around that number. That's a number I recall seeing. And actually, corporate aircraft could be a light piston twin, too. So there are some charter piston twins that are used out there. So aircraft that are used for revenue-generating purposes, other than flight training, because there are certainly some of those single-engine piston-powered airplanes. There's probably 15 to 20 or so.
Okay. The other thing, just for my own curiosity, the houses that are along Pine Hill Road, when I was the chairman of the airport authority, we made application to buy all of there's one house still standing, doesn't look like it's lived in. What's the story on that house?
I believe we're waiting for an opportunity to take a look at that. As far as I know, at this point, it's not for sale.
Okay. All right, Alderman McCarthy?
Did we demo all the ones that we bought? 'Cause I
Yeah,
know we
Well,
owned
yes.
two.
They were
Okay.
leveled to,
Yeah, nothing but green grass.
if you've driven by the airport recently, we have started the paving project, which is going extremely well, and we thank you for your support, past support on that project. That's probably 1/4 of the amount of paving that needs to be done at the airport, and we're doing it in stages. We've also started with a new master plan work, and the board is working on that to develop a new plan going forward. In addition, we have a strategic planning committee that is looking at our future needs internally. And we started off with a new vision statement, which we're very proud of, and please bear with me to read it. It's to be the first choice, Bois Field, to be the first choice airport in the region for general aviation pilots, attracting businesses and fostering a culture of education and enthusiasm for aviation. And we will continue to strive for that.
Excellent. Alderman McCarthy?
Yeah, back on the houses, the one that you're still looking to acquire, do we have the money to buy it at somewhere around its assessed value if it were available?
If you recall, the other two houses were purchased through FAA funds, the majority of it, and we paid a portion, the 5% portion of that. I'm assuming that a similar deal would be able to be arranged because when the FAA prioritizes the projects in the region, they put the highest priority for runway safety and a safety net, and that's where that falls in. So if it was the match that you're asking for, I think we would be able to come up with a match. I don't think we'd be able to come up with the whole amount.
Are there constraints on the federal funds as to method of acquisition, et cetera, or process?
Yes, yeah, they have to be, it has to go through a specific process. You have to get quotes and bids, and when we went through the past process, we were astonished to see some of the cost involved compared to what someone would be doing it on their own. But that's the way our government works.
Why that should astonish you, I don't know.
if I may. I spoke with Carol from the DOT the other day, and she informed me that she pointed to that house, and she said, as soon as you can get a deal on that, we're ready to move on it. So the DOT is set to go.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you very much for coming up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
As the 4th airport manager in the history of the airport.
Hopefully the last for a long time.
First one did.
We're just gonna do that one after this, or?
Thank you.
Your lease.
Hopefully I'll last that long.
You too, Chris.
Okay, the next item for review is the Edgewood and Suburban Cemeteries. And they were on, revenues on page 50, appropriations are on 212. Please identify yourself, your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Tom Mappy. I'm the chair of the Edgewood Cemetery Board. My address is 18 Colony Way, Nashua, New Hampshire. On March 24th, myself and Superintendent Snow met with the mayor and Dave Padette and CFO Griffith about our budget. They were proud of us. We came in the budget. A couple questions asked during that meeting about summer help. Last year, we had a problem with summer help. This year here, we put in for an extra $1 an hour, I believe, was it, Jeff, for summer help?
Gone from 10 to 11.
Gone from $10 to $11 an hour for summer help. And I think that was about the only discussion really that affected our budget, to be honest with you, sir.
Okay.
And if you want, for the record, I'm Jeffrey Snow, the superintendent, and I live at 10 Snow Lane in Hollis.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for the cemetery? No? Anything else you'd like to add?
Not really, I guess.
I think we're all set in that, sir.
All right. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank
You're
you.
very welcome. Thank you.
For me.
I was kind of waiting for it.
Thanks.
No complaints?
Okay, the next group, division, is revenue, is Woodlawn Cemetery. The revenue's on page 49, appropriations on 210. And please identify yourself for the record.
You doing intros, Niles? So you doing intros?
Sure. Good evening. I'm Niles Jensen. I'm chairman of Woodlawn and Pinewood Cemeteries. I live at 4 Catalina Lane in Nashua, New Hampshire.
I'm Len Fournier, superintendent of Woodlawn and Pinewood Cemeteries. I reside at 10 Barrington Ave in Nashua, New Hampshire. Also with us is trustee Dan Buslovich, who's very instrumental in our budget committee.
Okay. So, page 49.
Under salaries and wages, we have an increase of $3,724, which is the merit increase. We basically did a $1,000 flip on electricity and heating oil. We reduced heating oil down by $1,000 and increased electricity by $1,000. Len, would you contribute some of that to the lighting of the mausoleum?
The lighting of the mausoleum, and we're in the process of building a new 26-foot greenhouse, which will require, obviously, power, utilities. Other than that, they're really, There really is minimal changes on the budget from last year. There's really nothing that even exceeds or comes close to $1,000. It's really straightforward. We had a little increase in our burial fees as far as revenue. That's pretty much what I'm forecast. It's really based on a 6-year average. It's difficult to forecast burial fees.
So as I read the numbers, there's an increase of 38,780 in revenues from last year to this year?
In revenues. There's monuments,
And
38, I'm not seeing that.
let's see,
Projected revenue from investments,
Exactly.
dividends on the perpetual care portfolio is
Transfer
up
from trust
quite a
fund.
bit from a year ago, which will allow us to continue to be able to cover the whole operating budget without affecting our taxpayers.
All right. Any questions for Woodlawn? Alderman O'Brien.
Yes, the other group that came up with the Edgewood, it seems like they have part-time help. Do you guys also have summer help? that
We do.
assists?
We bring in summer
Did you
help.
find the same?
We did, and we
for all
also,
of-
we also increased our hourly rate by $1. Yeah, that was a
At
necessary thing.
$10, there just were not a lot of takers,
Yeah.
you know, for hard work.
Okay. Any other questions? Alderman Lopez.
Curious about that greenhouse. Is that what it sounds like? Growing flowers or something?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
we have 3 working greenhouse, actually.
So that's where the flower sales revenue comes from?
Correct. We plant over 500 flower bonds each year. We have 11 formal beds on the grounds. We have planters, if you would, around the mausoleum. It's a pretty elaborate process.
Yeah, explain to him about the geraniums and how that works.
Yeah, the geraniums, we start that from around February. We got it, like, we actually, one of our greenhouses, we call it the geranium house because it's strictly geraniums. Well, this year there's 3,100 geraniums in there, down from, 2,900 geraniums in there this year, down from about 3,100. But that house is, you couldn't put a pencil down on the shelves. It's all about bench space. And the more bench space you have in a greenhouse, the better off you're at.
Alderman Lopez.
It's actually pretty amazing. I imagine you don't get a lot of call for public tours, but I just wish more people knew about that.
There isn't some occasions where there is a gentleman that does tours on the ground. If you haven't been by Woodline, you know, drop in. If you haven't seen the mausoleum, you haven't seen the greenhouses, the operation, I think it's impressive. The mausoleum in its own right it's a building with a lot of character. So
Alderman Lopez.
That-
Follow-up.
The tour isn't Alan Minoyan, is it?
it is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I would definitely like to stop in. I always thought of that more as just a basic history tour, but like the facilities, growing the flowers and all that kind of stuff, there's a lot going in. At first I was thinking like, oh, that'd be really cool to like have a elementary school go, and then I was like, but it's a graveyard, so maybe not.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much for coming in this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good luck. And the next is Pinewood Cemetery.
That's us.
That was Pinewood Cemetery.
Huh?
That was both Edgewood.
All right, that's okay. If you covered both, we're good to go. Still no
Thank you.
questions. Okay, so
That's pretty cool.
unfinished business, none. New business, none. Yes, Alderman Siegel.
I don't know the mechanics, but, you know, we sort of prematurely voted on our 17093, then we had the public hearing afterwards. Are we okay with that? Is that already gone to the full board at this point?
Which,
R 17093, which is listed here as unfinished business resolution.
I think we voted on it again on Monday after the hearing.
Right.
So we're good.
Yeah.
I don't know why it showed up here, that's why.
Just because it was outstanding when the agendas were done for the week.
Okay, no problem.
It's not on my
Thanks.
agenda.
Very good, thank you.
That's why I didn't bring it up.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So, general discussion? Alderman Shoneman.
I have a question for you, Mr. Chair. A couple of years ago, we were going through the budget process. You prepared a slideshow for the Education Department showing the breakdown of cost per student or the special ed breakout and all that. Would you be able to update that? Is that something that's easily done?
Yes, I've already been, Superintendent Brown's been in touch with me about doing that.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
It was helpful, thank you.
Yep. Any other general discussion? Public comment, there's no public. Remarks by Alderman? None? No, need a non-public. Do I hear a motion? Alderman Siegel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Motion to adjourn.
Motion on the floor is to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We're adjourned at 7:32.